By 1964, the Beach Boys were fast becoming the biggest group in America. Brian Wilson had come into his own as a songwriter, arranger and producer. With 3 albums released in just that year, Brian was a creative machine, but he was by now run down physically and emotionally. He was on a grueling schedule of touring and relentless deadlines for singles, with Capitol Records expecting each single to crack the top 10. But it wasn't just his record company who expected this. Brian expected it of himself. He'd always delivered, but with the pressure at breaking point, Brian wanted an escape. He would be introduced to marijuana, which would inspire him creatively, while at the same time deepening his anxiety and stress. Not long after, Brian would suffer a panic attack on an airplane. He cried, screamed into a pillow, and collapsed on the cabin floor. Mike Love recalled Brian screaming, "I just can't take it. I just can't take it." Despite his ever-growing mental problems, Brian was still a dynamic leader in the studio, a perfectionist who commanded the sessions, radiating with creative authority. In the studio, Brian had full control of his world. Outside was becoming a different story.
Brian could write, he could arrange, he could sing, he could do everything. But the other parts of life were hard for him.
This year would see Brian quit touring. A recorded argument between Brian and his father Murray will break out during a session, and an album many consider their finest work is recorded. This is the story of the Beach Boys today.
We're rolling now. All right, take one.
In mid-1964, at the same time Brian had begun recording the Beach Boys today, the Beatles were at Abbey Road recording their album For Sale. But, in terms of production, they weren't just across the Atlantic, they were worlds apart. The Beatles' producer George Martin and engineer Norman Smith came from a classical world. At Abbey Road, they followed strict protocol and therefore focused on a controlled, dry sound. The British approach was in stark contrast to the relaxed improvisational style of California. Abbey Road at this time was more like a laboratory than a sonic playground. Music production was seen as a science rather than an art, so much so, engineers and producers even wore white lab coats. The result was that of how classical musicians were recorded: instrument separation, vocal clarity, and minimal instrument bleed through. Individual creativity was not encouraged, to say the least. There was a practice that was to be adhered to. A standardised procedure for EQ settings and mic placement was closely followed. In fact, should an engineer place a mic too close to an amp or experiment with EQ settings, he'd be pulled in to be reprimanded. The higher-ups would see his experimentation as either a sign of incompetence or insubordination. Brian Wilson had not come from a classical world, but he was inspired by it and went about reimagining it. He adopted the Phil Spector wall of sound technique, layering instruments to create a monolith of sound.
Brian always thought that he was somehow inferior to Phil Spector. I always thought it was absolutely the other way around. Phil Spector was a very, very talented, crazy, but he had this layered sound thing. But Brian took that and used it in a delicate way. So it became beautiful. So it wasn't just angry. You know, and Phil's thing was anger. And Brian's was love. Brian was always looking for love.
The Beach Boys' vocal harmonies were recorded on both close mics and room mics. Room mics, also known as ambient mics, were microphones placed at a distance away to capture the natural acoustics of the recording space. It gave the Beach Boys' voices a dreamlike quality. The muddier sound you hear on records like Today, compared to, say, The Beatles' A Hard Day's Night, was a creative choice rather than limitations on Brian's abilities. Brian's emotional impact with Today came from colour and texture rather than technical precision. In other words, Brian was making a statement to sacrifice fidelity to achieve a different emotional depth. When he recorded The Wrecking Crew, he let the instruments bleed through. It was to him like being inside the emotion rather than simply observing it. Brian later said of his production, "I want to make people feel things they didn't even know they were feeling." To put it simply, Brian's production was a deliberate attempt to bypass intellect and go straight to the emotional core. For the album, Side 1 was decided to be upbeat, bright and energetic. Side 2 would be melancholic and introspective. The album was Brian's first attempt at a farewell to surf rock. At this point, he wasn't relying so heavily on the Beach Boys playing their instruments in the studio. In truth, his compositions had grown so sophisticated, it was now necessary to use session musicians to a greater extent. Though, he still relied on Carl Wilson's guitar to bring an authenticity to certain compositions. Carl had developed as a musician to stand aside any of the session players. Carl's guitar is the feature of many compositions on the album. The official sessions for Today began in 1965, though almost half of the songs were recorded the previous year. The tracks for the album were recorded on 3-track or 4-track recorders. At this point, Brian changed his recording strategy, with instruments divided between 2 of the tracks and the first vocal overdub on the 3rd. He had previously done it the opposite way around. It was now necessary to switch up so he could layer more complex instrument textures while maintaining clarity. In other words, using this technique, prominent instruments that were essential to the sound wouldn't be muddied, therefore being less effective. The album will be produced by Brian with engineers Chuck Britz and Larry Levine. January 5th at Western Studios, the group begin on their first song, Please Let Me Wonder. It marks Brian's first return to the studio since the panic attack he suffered on an airplane in Houston. Mike Love didn't like the song to begin with. He felt it was not Beach Boys enough. At home, Brian had finished writing it and was desperate to get it recorded. He rang engineer Chuck Britz late on January 6th and the session was booked for 3:30 AM January 7th. Official logs will document the session from 7 PM to 10:30 PM. On this day, the backing track is laid down with vocal overdubs being added 2 days later. For the vocal harmony, Murray Wilson will be present. For the song, Carl plays 12-string electric lead, Brian on piano, and a room full of session musicians will play various instruments. Carl will be playing his 12-string from the control booth plugged into the desk with the session musicians on the other side of the glass. When everyone arrives, they first rehearse the song for about 9 minutes, during which Brian stops everyone to coach which notes they're on.
Let's go, please. G, B flat, A.
At this point, engineer Chuck Britz apparently thought these rehearsals were takes as he's been recording, but Brian dismisses them and tells him now to start at take 1.
We're rolling now.
Take 6.
All right, this will be
Take 6.
call take 1, right?
Take 1.
Take 1.
Take 1.
All right, take 1.
The first 3 takes stop almost immediately, with Brian correcting the musicians. During take 2, Brian tells one of the musicians to count the band in, to which he does in a very confusing way. Brian breaks down in laughter and gives instructions on how to count in.
Here we go. Let's go, Earl. All right, this is take 2. Too slow. Sorry. That was a little off too, wasn't it? Give him a little more, Earl. Give him a whole bar of counting before you give it to him. Here, just Earl, give him two. Go 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? That's how it'll be now. Let's go, please. Come on. Take 3, please.
Take 4 goes a lot better, almost making a full pass before breaking down. Following the end of take 4, confusion breaks out as the session musician's sheets are missing some of the notes. Back then, sheets were written by hand, not photocopied, therefore leading to some errors. During the commotion, Carl becomes restless and can be heard scraping away at his guitar.
Wait a minute! What the hell did we wait on?
Repeat the last 8 bars.
The last 8 bars? There's not 6 bars?
8 bars.
Well, we don't have our last 2 bars. That's our problem.
The last
There's a bar, G minor. But we didn't. Ours is not complete.
Take 5 is stopped by Brian, who doesn't like the sound of the tambourine.
Hold it, please. All right, Ron, let me hear a different sound of that tambourine. You're starting to sound real ugly now.
Take 6 is stopped by Brian as he feels it sounds too weak.
Hold it, Don. Something's wrong. You didn't. It's got to be strong. You didn't hit it there, did you? Carol, you're a little weak too on that pickup.
The next 3 takes are stopped by Brian, still feeling the musicians are playing too weak. After take 10, Brian listens again to the tambourine to see if it sounds right.
Ron, can I hear you, please?
At this point, Brian leaves the control room and joins the session players for take 11. Engineer Chuck Britz will take over in the control room now. Take 11 almost goes through an entire pass. From now, Brian will bang on his piano if he wants a take to stop. After take 11 ends, one of the session players asks Carl to adjust his guitar levels. Chuck Britz replies, "How can he? He's through the system," referring to the fact Carl's plugged into the console, not an amp.
Me? He can't hear.
How can he? He's through the system.
Take 12 and 13 break down almost immediately. At this point, Brian can be heard counting in the sessions from the floor.
All right, here we go. This is take 13. Take 13. 14.
The next few takes are stopped due to tempo changes. Take 18 is almost a complete pass, but the next few takes break down quickly. Take 23 very nearly results in a complete pass, but 23 and 24 break down without getting out the intro. It's not till take 29 they finally get the perfect take. Two days later, they begin recording the vocal overdubs. Murray Wilson can be heard telling Dennis to get some breath as they begin.
Get some breath, Dennis.
As you hear, originally Mike was to sing lead on the song. During takes, Brian keeps stopping him to correct him.
Now here we are together. This would have been worth waiting forever.
I think we're too close now, aren't you, Mike? Are you a little close? You're rushing.
This would have been worth waiting.
That's not on, Mike. You're too heavy
Fuck.
here.
You'd rather I was a little soft and a little loud.
Yes.
If I was trying for one or the other.
Rather a little soft and a little loud.
So I'll kind of retain instead of.
But right on the nose, every word's right, gotta be right.
Yeah, I'm so hip.
My God, the whole thing is, you just don't realize how important it is to stay in the same spot the whole time, really.
Brian will later do the lead himself, maybe due to Mike's inability to double track to Brian's liking. This was the first session after Brian's breakdown on the plane. Brian had visited a therapist afterwards who put it down to exhaustion, nothing more. He returned to the studio feeling strong and the same determined leader he had always been. His use of marijuana by this point was now becoming a daily routine. Please Let Me Wonder was the first song he'd ever wrote high. The story follows a man's love for a woman with no desire to know if she feels the same way. That desire to live in fantasy was always simmering in Brian's music, but after 1964 it became a reoccurring and defining theme. In his early compositions like Surfer Girl or In My Room, Brian sought refuge, but now he was deliberately rejecting reality. It was a refusal to confront facts through fear of pain through clarity. As the session wraps up, unbeknownst to the group, Brian would not be returning on tour full time. He would pivot his efforts into the studio where he could control everything and stay in his fantasy world. January 8th, they returned to Western Studios to record the first version of Help Me Rhonda. The story follows a man who's just been dumped by a woman he planned to marry. He turns to another woman for support in order to forget his past relationship. The woman Rhonda isn't a love interest, she's simply a distraction from his problems, a source of support for him. The song was a great example of Brian's conflicting feelings towards Marilyn Ravel, who, on impulse, he'd married a month previous. Take one starts with Brian coaching the sax players.
Try to hold your if you can hold that last note a little longer. That's it, good. Try that once. That's beautiful, great.
Takes 1 to 4, barely get out the intro.
Alright, here we go. Help Me Rhonda, take 1. Hold it, please, hold it. Alright, Help Me Rhonda, take 2. Hold it. A little bit slow, Billy. Sounded, okay, take 4, let's go. You were alright, Billy. You was okay, yeah. Please, Ray, you hit the wrong note, or Leon hit the wrong note.
As the takes go into the 20s, Brian becomes more frustrated.
Billy, something's wrong with that goddamn ukulele. Play it again, play it, just you. 21, it's old enough to vote, Alex. 21, let's go. Billy, you're a little slow, a little. 22, please. Now you rushed it.
No, I blew it, Brian.
Oh, he blew it, all right. 24. Hold it, Leon hit a bad note there. Let's take another one. 25, please, all the way, come on. One more, Billy, watch your hand, really. Something didn't sound right, I don't know. One more, please. It's 29. Hey, Hal, this song's going to be on Social Security.
Take 31 will be the master. When vocal overdubs begin, Murray Wilson turns up to the studio drunk and begins coaching the group on their vocals. Before the audio plays, it's worth remembering Brian is just 22 years old at this point.
Alright, put your overdub on now. Here we go. Let's sing it just like you did before.
To come down tonight, so I got drunk.
Are you not drunk?
All we're asking you for is a little syncopation.
A little syncopation. Doesn't have the words, bro.
No, listen, syncopate a little. What are the words?
I don't know.
Sing it.
Since you put me down, I've been out doing it in my head.
Show him how to do it just once, Dad.
Let me sing it. Since you put me down, go on that kick.
Sing the words.
Okay.
Sing
I
the words,
can't do
Murray.
it.
Since you put me down.
Since you put me down, baby, got it?
I got it, Murray.
You're laughing. But you know what I mean. All right. Syncopate it a little, and then.
You know how much trouble I have syncopating? That's my big.
Hey, don't sing with it. Let him sing it once.
You want me to leave, Brian?
No, I just wanted you to let him sing it.
Mother and I can leave now.
Did you really get drunk?
For the first time in my life.
Oh, bull. First time.
Brian said come down, relax, so I did.
Here we go with the big one.
Well, since you put me down, I've been out doing in my head. I come in late at night, and in the morning I just lay in bed.
That's great. Okay, come on in here.
That's it.
We're never done without
here.
That's what we want. Congratulations. You're a genius.
That's it. You've got a
I can't
master,
help
son.
I think he's got it, Brian. Fellas, I have 3,000 words to say. Quit screaming and start singing from your hearts, huh? So you're big stars. Let's fight, huh? Let's fight for success. Okay, let's go. Now loosen up, be happy, forget the people in there. Turn the lights out in this room. Turn the lights out in this room.
It's a great idea.
Fellas, as a team, we're unbeatable. Let's go. You're doing wonderful, Al. Enunciate. Let's go. Forget it.
God damn it.
I'll leave, Brian, if you're going to give me a bad time. Let's go. Let's go.
That really gets that.
I don't care if it does. Let's go.
I got 1 ear left and your big loud voice is killing me.
I'm sorry. So, okay, Audrey and I leave, okay?
No. All I ask is you just put the hand mic about 500 feet away from
Rhonda, you look so fine, look so fine. Take much time for you to help me get her out of my heart.
Go ahead now, say what you want to say.
All we needed was Al to loosen up. Dennis was flatting, Mike was flatting on his high notes.
Yeah.
We need help.
Who needs
we
help?
need the honest projection that we used to have.
You want to have like
When you
a
guys
409
get too
sound,
much,
right?
when you
On
guys
Help Me,
get too
Rhonda?
much money, you start thinking you're going to make everything a hit. I'm sorry, I'll never help you guys mix another station.
Why?
Because you don't appreciate the good help Chuck Fritz and I have given you. You
Don't
took a
appreciate the
beautiful
help.
gift.
Yeah.
Forget your image as a producer, dear. You can live for 200 years if you
Know what I'm
grow.
talking about.
Okay, forget it.
As heard in the audio, Murray leaves with his wife Audrey in tow. It will be 3 years before he again attends a Beach Boys recording session. Emotionally exhausted, the group call it a day on the session after Murray's departure. They will return the next day to put down the vocal overdub. Brian later wrote, after these sessions ended, he would go home and smoke marijuana each night. January 11th, the group moved to Gold Star Studios to record their next song, Do You Wanna Dance? Brian was happy to move to the base of his idol Phil Spector. Spector's wall of sound had been born in Gold Star. Gold Star would later burn down, and as of 2025, a shopping mall stands in its place. A cover song, the story is a simple invitation to intimacy. It's not just about dancing, it's about connection and closeness. Carl Wilson plays both electric lead and rhythm. Brian plays acoustic piano with saxophones, tambourines, woodblocks and a mandolin, all played by various session musicians. In Studio A, engineer Larry Levine calls out the takes from the control room as Brian is on the floor playing piano. On this day, Carl Wilson is out on the floor with the musicians too. His amp is mic'd up during takes. All in all, Studio A is packed with 10 session musicians and 2 Beach Boys. In the control room sit engineer Larry Levine and Murray Wilson. This, of course, was before the Help Me Rhonda overdubs were recorded. The fastest recording of any song on the album, the backing track is complete in just 3 takes. They almost go for a full pass on take 1, take 2 breaks down halfway through, and take 3 is the master.
Do you want to dance? Take 2. I'm sorry, one more.
Some of the session musicians were then paid overtime to add some vocal overdubs to the track. With the session complete, Levine mixes down the 4-track recording to 3 tracks. Brian then takes the 3 track to Western Studios for the group to add vocals and more of Carl's guitar. The song featured the group's drummer Dennis Wilson on lead vocal, the first time he'd ever sang lead. Dennis is recorded with all the backing vocals at the same time. The backing vocals, Brian's wife Marilyn contributes along with Al, Mike, Carl and Brian. All their vocals will be put on 1 track. While recording, Dennis jumps in too quickly, but Brian assures him they can cut that out for the mix. This spares the group from having to start over again.
Tell me, baby, I'm your loving man, oh baby. Do you
Next, they record the 2nd track to feature Dennis on lead vocal. Originally titled Denny's Ballad, In the Back of My Mind follows the story of a man plagued by doubts, especially about his relationship. Carl plays 12-string, while the session musicians record in Studio 3 of Western Studios. Brian adds no instrumentation to this track. Carl is again recording from the control room, along with Brian and engineer Chuck Britz. As they go through takes recording the backing track, Brian refuses to document false starts as actual takes. Take 1 ends immediately. Take 2 is stopped a verse in for Brian to correct the percussion players.
I don't, that Hal, I want you to conduct at the last 2 notes.
While going through takes 6 to 10, Brian becomes frustrated with the musicians. The main problem is Brian is trying to lay down the music in his head while at the same time making sense of it to the other musicians.
A little too much block that time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, Hal, come on now, look. We're starting to screw around and I'm losing it. I'm losing the whole record. Could we make another one, please? Leon lost the thing. We didn't have enough of plas on the first chord of the top of the song. When you come in the second verse, it was very unsolid, and actually Steve stuck out like a. So what we do is make sure that all your notes is equally strong out there, especially like at the top of a thing.
Takes 10 to 21 see Brian adjusting the tempo.
Now the tempo should come up a little bit, generally speaking. 1, 2. Go ahead, Hal, like that. That's a little slow, Hal. Billy was weak there. You fluttered up a little bit. A little better start, please. Take, 17? Take 17. Here we go. This will be take 18 with the tempo something like all the way now.
It is not until take 28 they go through a full pass and Brian's mood changes dramatically. Take 31 is used as the master.
Now, that's going to be great. Okay, let's make 31.
Three days later, the group record the vocal overdubs. Despite the belief Dennis sings the entire track solo, he's actually joined by Carl on the bridge. Dennis repeatedly flubs his double track vocal and Murray begins giving vocal advice in the control room.
I'm blessed with everything, a world to which a man can cling. I try to run far away from thoughts I shouldn't try to keep away, but I'm blessed with everything.
That's where I blew it.
So happy times that I blew the words out.
Overdub, take 3.
World to which a man can cling.
Give a little more, but stay back where you were.
Alright.
Don't scream, but on your high notes, think high. I hold right. Keep enunciating.
On January 13th in Western Studios, recording begins on Good to My Baby. The story follows a narrator who many believe treats his partner poorly. He insists in private he's much kinder. Carl Wilson again adds electric lead, Brian on piano, and a group of session musicians filling the rest of the instrumentation. This day, they will go through 19 takes, with Carl again recording from the control room. A deliberately American sounding track, Brian begins the record talking in a Southern American voice. Take 1 ends immediately, and Chuck Britt has to push Brian to say take 2, otherwise he won't note it.
Let's make it. This is good to my baby. Take 1. One more, please.
Take 2.
Take 2. Good to my baby.
Take 2 is stopped a verse in for Brian to correct the percussion players.
Percussion, Hal and Ron, don't stop. Percussion keeps doing his bit, yeah. Instead of going you go like the intro, okay? Take 3. Good to my baby.
Take 3 doesn't get off the ground, and they virtually go straight into take 4. Though, take 4 doesn't even start.
One more, please. 4. This is take 4. Do it again, please. Do it again.
They almost go through a complete pass on take 5 before Brian stops them. After take 5, Brian leaves the control room and joins the musicians on piano. On take 6, Brian cuts it short to tell Carl he's missed his cue. Carl assures him he didn't, and one of the musicians jokes, shows how wrong you can be, Brian.
Here we go. Take 6. Take 6.
I hit it.
7.
Take 7 falls apart straight away, as does take 8 and 9. Take 9 is actually stopped by Carl due to hearing bad bass notes.
Rolling on 8.
How come he's louder than I am? Yeah.
Take 9.
Hey, wait, it's a bad note, Brian.
Take 10.
Take 10 continues to fall apart on the intro. Take 11 falls apart on the first verse, barely getting past the intro. Take 12 starts too fast and is stopped quickly. Brian then demonstrates the tempo before take 13 will start. By take 19, they have the master. Brian's complex vocal arrangement is complete in 4 takes.
Good to my baby. Good to my baby. Good to my baby. Good to my baby.
Next, they record what some consider an interesting look into the band and others consider complete filler. The track is titled Ball Session with the Big Daddy. The track starts with Marilyn handing out fast food burgers to the group. They then have a discussion about concerts they played all over the world.
I would have rather
No, that's for Ron.
Hey, there's onions on this, so I hope all you guys don't mind.
Here's some French fries you can all split.
Oh, I haven't made a mistake yet in my whole career.
Brian, we keep waiting for you to make a mistake. Bread.
All year, the only thing that stuck out in my mind is the bread.
Despite not actually being a song or being written, songwriting credits go to all 5 Beach Boys. As the session ends, Brian informs the group he won't be going back on tour. According to Brian, when he told them he couldn't go on tour anymore because he didn't want to travel, they all broke down. Al Jardine and Mike Love got teary-eyed while Dennis picked up an ashtray and threatened to hit someone with it. Carl stayed quiet the entire time. Mike later stated in his book he didn't remember crying, but he didn't doubt it either. Brian later stated, "I told them I foresee a beautiful future for the Beach Boys group, but the only way we can achieve it is if they did their job and I did mine." Mike later stated, Brian's absence left a void on stage. Who could replace him? Who could sing like Brian? Nobody. When Murray Wilson found out, he was furious. He called Brian the next day and stated, "I heard you're a goddamn traitor to the band." Brian replied, "I'm not getting into it. I made my decision. My mind's made up." Murray replied, "I know you're weak. That's no surprise. All I've got to say is if you can't cut it, you might as well get out of the business altogether. Brian replied, "No, I'm not going to do that. The Beach Boys is my band. You were fired, remember?" January 15th, Brian returns to Western Studios to record the vocal track for Kiss Me Baby. The backing track had been recorded 2 months previous, back in 1964. He originally wrote the song while the Beach Boys were on their European tour. He sat at a piano in Denmark writing the track. The story is a simple tale of reconciliation following a breakup. Brian plays piano and Carl 12-string electric, joined by a group of session musicians. Carl didn't play a prominent role. His input in the session was just to add some texture, much like the 2 bass players who were playing the same thing in the session. On this day, things will not go smoothly, largely due to Brian. Uncharacteristically, on this day he keeps hitting dud notes, forcing them to start over. Brian at this time is physically and emotionally exhausted. This is the last session he takes part in before his panic attack on the airplane ride to Houston. From the first take, Brian is out playing piano with the musicians. Engineer Chuck Britz will call out each take. Take 1 begins with Brian and session player Leon Russell both on piano during the intro. Britz keeps stopping them from the control room because they're not in time with each other.
Okay, we're gonna roll on take 1. Hold it, you weren't together. Take 2. 3. 4.
By take 4, they are in time and get past the intro for the first time. Before they reach the chorus, Brian hits a dud note and they stop. One of the session musicians jokes to Brian, "You're lucky you're the boss, or I'll take you down."
Lucky you're the boss, but I'll put you down.
Take 5 is stopped by Brian before they reach the chorus, and take 6 doesn't make it out the intro. Take 7 is stopped before the second chorus. It's then discussed how the horn players will position themselves in relation to the microphones. Take 8 almost reaches the end, and take 9 is perfect. It's used as the master. The session ends, and a week after recording the backing track, Brian suffers a panic attack on an airplane. Back to 1965, January 15th, the Beach Boys attend the session to lay down the vocal overdub. The vocals are so complex, Brian's forced to add fixed punch-ins later. Fixed punch-ins are basically vocal overdub corrections. On this day, Brian is audibly upset with the group. He can be heard on this day saying, "That was sloppy, you guys," before the tape cuts out. January 18th, the sessions are nearing completion as they begin the song "I'm So Young." They'd recorded a backing track for the song 4 months earlier in 1964, featuring a prominent flute. Brian had now decided they had to re-record it. It didn't sound right to him. Time is tight though. The vocal overdubs will begin immediately after the backing track is laid down. While they're laying down the backing track, Mike Love is even waiting in the wings for when vocal recording will begin. The session features nearly all of the Beach Boys and only one session player. Brian plays Hammond organ, Carl Wilson on rhythm and lead guitar, Al Jardine on bass, and Dennis on drums. Dennis will struggle to get his part down, and Brian will be constantly back and forth from the studio floor to the control room. As the session starts, Brian is in the control room. All Beach Boys are on the studio floor with Carl's amp being mic'd up. They first rehearsed the song with Brian coaching Carl on how he wants the guitar played, and more especially, Dennis on how he wants the drums to sound.
Carl, give me a good smooth pattern of it once. You can't play it? Just play your top strings, Carl. Your top strings. A little faster, huh? Dennis, the downbeat is on the cymbal for you. No, that cymbal. But don't go boom like that. Yeah, just go tink, 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 boom. No drum till the second beat, you know. All right, let's make it.
As takes begin, Brian plays organ and Carl switches to bass. As the sessions go on, Brian leaves the control room and can be heard calling the takes from the studio as he sings the vocal to Dennis to show him where the fill should be. Brian at this point begins to become more and more irritated.
I listen to you. If you would have got it, I'd listen. Yeah, sure.
Mike Love appears at this point, suggesting they overdub some of Dennis's drums to speed up the process. After rehearsing the song many times, they're able to get the backing track down in just one take. This was proof the Beach Boys could perform when their backs were against the wall. As their vocal overdub begins, they briefly argue over their position to the mics. A false intro is aborted and they continuously stop and start. With this session complete, the Beach Boys prepare for their first tour without Brian. January 27th, the Beach Boys' first North American tour minus Brian begins. A grueling schedule, Glenn Campbell is hired to fill in for Brian. February 15th, the single Do You Wanna Dance is released. It peaks at number 12. The following songs to feature on the album were all recorded the previous year. Originally recorded June 22nd, Don't Hurt My Little Sister, Brian had written for Phil Spector's group The Ronettes. Thematically, the song suited the album. For this reason alone, it was added. The story follows an older brother urging his sister's boyfriend to treat her better. According to some sources, the title had come from Marilyn's sister's repeated advice to Brian. Spector had accepted the song to record. During the recording of the backing track at Gold Star, session musician Leon Russell was too drunk to play piano. Spector asked Brian to play his part, but Brian was so nervous he choked. After this, Brian would decide to work on the song himself. The session will feature Brian on piano, Carl on guitar, Dennis on tambourine, Al Jardine on bass, and a group of session musicians. Carl again sits in the control room with Brian with his 12-string plugged into the board. This was the first time Carl's 12-string Rickenbacker would appear on a Beach Boys record. Carl had watched the Beatles film A Hard Day's Night and rushed out to buy one. The first take is really just a dry run, a rehearsal for how they want it to sound. Brian joins the musicians on piano during this take.
I'll be out there and play the piano, baby. The piano player. All the way, let's make it tight. Hal, you want to get closer to that little thing? Yeah, because we're leaking from anybody else. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Before the second take starts, Brian instructs Hal Blaine to hold the tempo and Dennis not to move his hand around while hitting the tambourine.
There we go, please. Hal, let's get the tempo. On your hand, please, Dennis, and stay in the same spot so you don't shift around volume.
The next few takes break down when some of the musicians play an incorrect progression. Problems persist, with the tempo now becoming too slow. Take 11 doesn't get out the intro, and take 12 breaks down immediately. Take 13 is complete, but Brian's unhappy with it. Take 14 breaks down immediately, as does take 15 and 16. Take 17 goes perfectly, though they go through another take, and 18 is used as the master. As the vocal overdub begins, Mike and Brian are chatting before the music starts. Dennis tries to warn them the song is starting by shouting, "Go!" Despite this, you can hear Mike talking over the intro.
Not my voice. Here we go. Go, go, go.
Brian can also later be heard saying, "Okay so far," during the instrument break. For whatever reason, these errors were left on the record and can be heard vaguely to this day on the album. Originally recorded back on October 9th, 1964, Dance 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 had been written by both Brian and Carl. The song had been released as a single in 1964, reaching number 8 in the US charts. It was a wise commercial move to add it on the album. It was specifically chosen to be placed on side 1 to show the group's strength as a band before moving to side 2 to show their emotional depth. The song is very much a throwback to their previous sound. Carl's surf rock guitar is front and centre. It stands out on the album as Brian was now moving away from the surf rock guitar sound that dominated their previous music. The track was recorded by a mix of both session musicians and the Beach Boys lineup. Glenn Campbell, who will later replace Brian for touring obligations, is amongst the session players. Western or Gold Star Studios weren't available, so the song was cut in RCA. The first 5 takes break down pretty fast.
We're rolling, take 1. One more, take 2. Take 3, take 3.
Take 6 fares a bit better, but falls apart towards the end. On this take, session musician Glenn Campbell can be heard scolding himself. It then goes straight to take 7, which falls apart early on. Take 8 again almost makes it to a full pass before breaking down at the end. A few more takes almost make it to the end, with the band finally getting the master on take 13. Following this, they begin the vocal overdub. The group is split between 3 microphones, Mike on one microphone, Brian on another, and the remaining Beach Boys on the third. Brian will instruct the 3 to be careful not to leak onto his mic. As they go on, Mike jokes around with Dennis and the others.
4A.
Get on. 4A, for Christ's sake, Dennis. Did you hear him?
Cool.
I hit the radio dial and turned it up all the way.
I'm getting a bit infuriated over the situation.
In the control room, engineer Chuck Britz can be heard correcting Mike, to which begins a joking back and forth between Chuck and the group.
Gotta stay right on top of it a little more, Mike. You're slightly behind it now.
Stay on top of your throat in a minute, Chuck.
Yeah. You'll be in a booth, all right. You'll be in there. Put your
Yeah,
feet
you
right
know one of
on
those
top
6-foot under booths?
You're smart shit, don't you?
No, I know I.
Roll the fucking tape, or I'll come in there and roll your ass.
As the takes go on, Brian practices his falsetto, and the group discusses promotional duties they have. Apparently, they were happy to do TV work, but not willing to play a theatre gig that was lined up.
We don't need the exposure for our person.
There we go, come on.
I could see the TV, but I wouldn't do a theater gig like that.
I wouldn't either, man. I really.
Just take 11A.
I know. I don't give a shit, Brian. The TV's good
There we
enough.
go.
Fuck, all right, then tell me. How many people could handle it?
The next vocal take is stopped by Chuck due to Brian being too close to the microphone. As Chuck rewinds the tape, the group continue arguing about whether they should play theatres.
So, well, you gotta play something, so the critics can write
Okay,
about
here we go.
You gotta be
12A.
You do, you really do.
I swear to.
Actually, we should do it in different ways,
We're
but
not
12A.
there, Carl.
but we don't have a really brilliant setup.
Okay, you know how much $300 a night is, Brian? Would you work for $300 a night here? I would if I thought that 3 months later I could work for $4,000.
You will anyway, Brian, regardless whether you do those 2
Regardless of
nights.
what you get. All right, then, whatever. Why do you talk about it now?
Hey, why don't we talk about it later,
Because
huh?
it makes me furious.
Well, 300
Watch it, dude.
$300 is
We
shit.
could do
We
just
know.
one night, that's enough.
There we go.
I mean, take it up with Dick, but let's make
12A.
Originally recorded August 5th, 1964, When I Grow Up to Be a Man follows a young man's anxieties of growing older. Brian later said it was inspired by his own worries of becoming an old square. Musically, Brian built the song harmonic foundation on jazz-inspired chords. Brian was pushing pop music into jazz territory. Brian himself played the electric harpsichord that's prominent throughout. The song features unusual chord progressions, tempo changes and key changes. As the song ends, instead of resolving with a typical outro, Brian recycles the main riff as if going back into a loop. This is the second track to be recorded by the Beach Boys themselves rather than session musicians. Dennis on drums, Carl on electric lead and rhythm, Al Jardine on bass, Brian on upright piano. This was the standard Beach Boys lineup before session musicians were brought in. Before recording begins, the group rehearsed the song in the studio. While they're going through the track, engineer Chuck Britz adds some reverb to Dennis's snare drum. The effect totally elevates the sound. Carl is again recording from the control room. He can be heard giving Dennis instructions through the talkback mic. Take 1 barely gets out of the first few hits of Dennis's drums. The next 4 takes don't last much longer. Brian the whole time is coaching Dennis through the rhythm. The next 4 takes all fall apart within the first 10 seconds. During take 9, Brian screams in frustration after hitting a dud note. Brian is again the cause of take 10 falling apart, to which he states, "I blew it twice in a row." Dennis continues to struggle with the tempo as the next 3 takes fall apart in quick succession. By take 14, Brian assures Dennis, "You're getting it." The next take falls apart when Brian hits a dud note in take 16, proclaiming, "I'm sorry, I've blown that same part about 8 times in a row now." In take 17, Brian again flubs the note. Feeling frustrated, Dennis consoles him. Take 18 is the first complete pass. The next 9 takes all fall apart straight away. Take 28 falls apart right away, with Dennis asking, "What's wrong with that?" Carl replies, "I just stopped playing for some dumb reason."
I just stopped playing for some dumb reason. I don't know.
The next 4 takes break down relatively fast. Take 33, they almost reach the chorus before breaking down. Brian then gives instructions to Dennis. Dennis is the cause of the next 3 takes falling apart almost right away, much to his frustration. Brian corrects Dennis on his mistakes constantly. Carl at this point says to Chuck Britz in the control room, the problem is Brian being so hard on him.
Here we go. Sounding real good.
You know what it is, Brian Rice himself.
You've done it. It's not drumming. It's just that we have to concentrate a lot of things at once.
Chuck tells Dennis on the mic he sounds great, to which he dismisses the praise.
Denny, sounds great, man. No, really, you sound great. You just don't realize it.
The next take falls apart, but on take 37, they go through a perfect pass. Other instruments are later overdubbed to the backing track. Five days later, the group returned to the studio with Mike Love to record the vocal overdub. In between takes, Mike jokes around, often about how bad the song is. The group also keeps sarcastically shushing each other in a joking way.
Alright, no talking on the intro at all. Here we go, 2A.
A little more, please, in my
When I grow up to be
Does that sound good, boss?
Come on, man. Let's cut this cow.
Hey. Okay, let's do it.
Cut this piece of shit.
We gotta smash.
Here we go, 6A.
Will I joke around? Still joke around. And still do those sounds.
Everybody, please.
Goddamn great, and you guys are wasting precious time.
You guys, anybody want a piece of dentist?
Yes.
No, not now.
Good.
You know.
let's go. Let's get this friggin' thing.
Fuckers, you always fucking.
With that, the album is complete. On March the 1st, Capitol Records released The Beach Boys Today. Brian's use of marijuana had changed the way he heard arrangements. In fact, the whole second side of the album had been written and arranged while he was high. He later commented he'd become more committed on a spiritual level. The only way Brian could describe it is marijuana made him feel complex emotions he could only describe through his music. Everyone in Brian's life was horrified at his drug use. To them, it was throwing gas on a fire. His panic attack on the plane to Houston was so unexpected and so severe, it only led to more worry. They'd never seen anything like it before. They were hopeful his decision to quit touring would be a blessing in disguise. They saw it would take away a lot of the pressure. Though he was receiving help, he needed validation, protection, and unified support. Brian embodied the paradox of drugs helping the artist, not the human. Unfortunately, the Beach Boys Today did nothing to mend relations between Brian and Capitol. Despite being a creative breakthrough and receiving positive feedback by critics, it hadn't fared as well in the charts as expected. Capitol wanted radio-friendly hits. They put pressure on Brian to pivot back to a more commercial sound. Reluctantly, for the album, Brian agreed. He wouldn't simply recycle his formula for hits. The songs for his next album would contain surf anthems that masterfully balanced Brian's former style with his evolving orchestral sophistication. It was the last compromise he made with Capitol, the final time he bowed to commercial expectations. Summer Days was the last time Brian played the game. After that, he would rewrite the rules. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel, and if you wish to donate, it would be greatly appreciated. Just click the three symbols next to the video, then the thanks icon, and choose however much you wish to donate. Everything donated goes directly back into the channel to make better quality videos. As always, thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.